Chapter 687. The violent energy in the thunder eye was even stronger than the wind eye. That Xianxia dared to release his divine sense to probe the situation inside the wind eye, but he didn't dare touch the thunder eye. Between the two, the thunder eye was undoubtedly more dangerous. Thunder Light Religion's religion master has caught up. Senior, please let me in. Yang Kai glanced back and saw Xianxia rushing towards him, his face filled with anxiety. Although he had not yet arrived, he was already shouting. That Xianxia didn't put him in his eyes at all and simply smiled. Little brat, you're really strange. Good, I'll do as you wish, but don't die, otherwise I won't be able to explain myself to Ancestral Founder. Saying so, he casually threw Yang Kai forward and Yang Kai's figure quickly fell into the thunder eye. Cries of alarm rang out as the Thunder Light Religion disciples who were cultivating stared in amazement at Yang Kai disappearing into the thunder eye, wondering how this person had offended the Xianxia and was actually thrown into such a place. Xianxia arrived shortly after, but he could only watch helplessly. Inside the thunder eye, Yang Kai felt a huge pressure as soon as he entered, one that was much stronger than when he was in the wind eye. The power of the lightning shuttled through his body, causing his hair to stand on end and his body to shiver. Soon, a burnt smell wafted out from his skin. After consuming the myriad drug milk again, Yang Kai sat down cross-legged inside the thunder eye, ignoring his own injuries and allowing his wind and thunder wings to absorb the surrounding thunder energy. After experiencing this once, Yang Kai became more and more adept at dealing with this kind of situation and knew what his wind and thunder wings were thirsting for. On his back and right shoulder blade, as expected, a huge attractive force was produced. The surrounding thunder energy was pulled into his body. Once again, it spread its wings. On the left side, wind spirits danced, while on the right side, lightning flashed and electric arcs danced. Yang Kai soon entered a state of selflessness as he comprehended the mysteries of thunder and thunder. Outside the thunder eye, the Thunder Light Religion disciples had been driven away while the Xianxia and Xianxia fought fiercely. In the end, it was Elder Du who stepped forward and stopped their battle. It was very difficult for two-third order transcendent masters to determine the victor, but Xianxia clearly felt that he was somewhat inferior to Xianxia. If they were to continue fighting like this, the one who would lose would undoubtedly be him. After realizing this, Sect Master Lei Guang took advantage of the situation and decisively stopped. As time passed, the people waiting outside the thunder eye could clearly sense that the thunder attribute energy in the area had weakened a lot. The most direct manifestation was that the lightning striking down from the thunder eye was sparser than before. Xianxia's face turned extremely ugly. Today, with the death of the two elders, the Eye of the Storm disappeared, and the power of the Eye of the Thunder was weakened. It was unknown whether it would disappear like the Eye of the Storm. He was Lei Guang's loss. Immeasurable. A day later, the power of the Thunder Eye was less than half of its usual power. Xianxia's eyes were red as he stared at the Thunder Eye like a ferocious beast. His expression was resentful. Although Old Man Du felt that it was somewhat immoral to harm his foundation, when he thought about how Duan Hai even wanted to harm the person he had recommended, he couldn't help feeling angry. Inside the thunder eye, Yang Kai took a deep breath. Suddenly opening his eyes, Yang Kai's pupils shined brightly. After a day of absorption, he noticed that the wind and thunder wings in his body had reached perfection. From this moment on, this pair of wings had truly been refined by him and had become his greatest strength. The wings behind his back were filled with yang attribute energy, while the left half contained the agility of wind while the right half contained the violence of thunder. Wind, thunder, and yang, these three attributes had formed a strange balance and subtle changes had taken place between them. It was no longer a simple combination of one attribute. The wind and thunder attributes now contained a burning heat that had evolved into wind flame and thunder flame. Compared to the pure wind and thunder attribute, the lethality of these two attributes was now several times greater. The yang inflammation wings had also been completely replaced by the wind and thunder wings. It was just that Yang Kai found it somewhat difficult to determine the existence of this pair of wings. They were both like an artifact in his own martial skill. However, It was undeniable that Han Fei had indeed given him a great gift. The reason why Han Fei and Li Rong had not been able to refine the wind and thunder wings was likely because they had not had such an opportunity. All of this was a coincidence, but it was also an inevitable result. Taking back his wind and thunder wings, Yang Kai stepped out of the greatly weakened Thunder Eye. Everyone who had been waiting for a long time saw Yang Kai walk out and couldn't help but light up. Even Xia Chengyin couldn't help breathing a sigh of relief. The Thunder Eye had not disappeared, and although its power was not as strong as before, it had at least been preserved. Staring at Yang Kai, the look in his eyes was extremely complicated, a mix of annoyance and resentment. "You little brat, you made us wait." As soon as he saw Yang Kai appear, Zhangyan immediately laughed. "You little brat, your aura has changed a lot. Did you gain something?" "A little." Yang Kai nodded lightly. "My cultivation hasn't increased, but I was able to comprehend some of the mysteries of thunder. Sorry for making you wait so long." "Little friend is too polite." Duwan smiled and nodded. "Since you've finished, let's go." Zhangyan waved his hand. Yang Kai glanced over at Xia Chengyin faintly, but the latter's expression remained gloomy, not saying a word, seemingly having no intention of stopping them. With Zhangyan here, he couldn't stop them even if he wanted to. Thunderlight sect's losses these past 2 days were already big enough. If they really wanted to offend Zhangyan and start a war with Soaring Heaven sect, Thunderlight sect would be powerless to resist. Soaring Heaven sect's 4 great madmen were not any worse than him. Once they started fighting, Thunderlight sect would definitely be destroyed. Xia Chengyin could only swallow his anger. "Religion Master Xia, I'll have to trouble you this time." Old man Du nodded to Xia Chengyin. "Farewell, I won't see you off." Xia Chengyin took a deep breath and closed his eyes, unwilling to look back. Zhangyan coldly snorted before waving his Yuan Qi, wrapping Yang Kai, Du Wan, and Mi Na in it, and flying off. After they left, Xia Chengyin stared at their backs with a twisted expression for a moment before suddenly activating his movement skill and flying towards the eye of the storm. He still had some doubts about Yang Kai's previous statement, but with Du Wan nearby, he didn't want to tangle with him, so naturally he wanted to investigate. Although Su Qi and Duan Hai had been dead for a day, Xia Chengyin was still confident. Gathering their scattered souls and prying into their memories, he wanted to see what kind of grievances had occurred between them and Yang Kai. Arriving at the 2 dead great elders, Xia Chengyin silently circulated his secret art and released a series of mysterious bursts of energy. Soon, a barrier appeared within a radius of 30 kilometers. He wanted to seal off this place so he could collect Su Qi and Duan Hai's souls. He believed that with the cultivation of these two, even if their physical bodies died, their souls would not dissipate so quickly. But what made Xia Chengyin depressed and puzzled was, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't recall even a trace of their souls. The 2 elders seemed to have had their souls extinguished, a discovery that made him surprised. Bright Thunder Spirit Religion. Midair, a group of 4 people was flying at high speed. As they passed by a mountain, Yang Kai inadvertently glanced down and happened to see a tall woman with a proud figure standing there. The other party seemed to have noticed him as well, her beautiful eyes filled with guilt and surprise as she stared at him foolishly. Suddenly, she flew up and chased after him with all her strength, her pretty face filled with anxiety. But how could her speed be compared to Zhangyan's? In just a few breaths of time, she was quickly left behind. "Hey, you bastard, there was a little girl chasing you just now." Mina suddenly poked Yang Kai and said with an ambiguous expression. Yang Kai pretended to be confused. "You're still denying it?" Mina snorted. "She called out your name. Did you do something to her that you would abandon her after taking advantage of her?" TSK, I really didn't see it. You're such a beast with a human face. It looks like I'll have to stay away from you in the future." "Don't talk nonsense, okay? I'm a very pure person, I would never do such a thing," Yang Kai said seriously. Mina curled her lips, obviously not believing him. She had probably stayed in the Alchemist Guild for too long. Her gossipy heart was stronger than anyone else's, so she grabbed Yang Kai and kept asking questions. Yang Kai ignored her and instead looked at Zhangyan with a puzzled expression. Even now, he still didn't understand why the other party would help him for no reason, even at the expense of offending the Bright Thunder Spirit religion leader. After hesitating for a long time, Yang Kai asked, "Senior, can you tell me why you helped me? What good does it do you?" Sangyin turned to look at him while flying, a smile appearing on his cold face. "You're very vigilant." Yang Kai nodded without hesitation. Old Man Du chuckled, "Little friend doesn't need to suspect Sangyin. Although I made a mistake in recommending you to Bright Thunder Spirit religion, this time I can guarantee he won't do you any harm." I naturally believe Old Man Du's words. Yang Kai gently nodded, "But this doesn't answer the confusion in my heart. Since Senior has no malice towards me, can you tell me the reason?" "Telling you isn't a big deal, I'm just completing my own task." "Task?" Yang Kai was surprised. "I won't tell you too much, but you should come with me to a place later and you should understand because I don't know much about it." "Who gave you this task?" "My family's ancestral founder. Soaring Heaven Sect's sect master?" Yang Kai couldn't help feeling shocked. Sangyin didn't answer and simply continued flying forward. Yang Kai asked a few more times before finally giving up and turning to Old Man Du, "What kind of person is Soaring Heaven Sect's sect master?" "A Saint Realm Master," Du Wan replied. "I don't know exactly how strong he is, but when you see him, you can ask him." Sangyin, who was flying forward, suddenly stopped and said, "Old Man Du, let's part ways here. I need to take him back to the sect as soon as possible." "Very well." Du Wan gently nodded before turning to Yang Kai and saying, "Little friend, this time you have suffered. This old master is really sorry, but the Alchemist Guild will always open its doors to you. If you have some spare time, please remember to come back and visit." Old Man Du's kindness gave Yang Kai a warm feeling in his heart and nodded. "It's not Old Man Du's fault. Old Man Du doesn't need to worry about it. I'll definitely return to the Alchemist Guild." Old Man Du smiled lightly before turning to Sangyin and saying, "Send my regards to your ancestral founder. This old man is old and weak, so I won't be seeing him again." "I'll definitely do so," Sangyin nodded. "Then, Old Man Du, we'll take our leave first." Saying so, Old Man Du led Yang Kai in another direction. "Yang Kai, remember to come back." Mina waved goodbye to Yang Kai. Chapter 688. Soaring Heaven Sect was one of the 4 great forces in the vicinity of Grand Boulder City. Although they were called 4 great forces, in fact, the other 3 couldn't be compared to Soaring Heaven Sect at all. Whether it was in terms of heritage or strength, Soaring Heaven Sect was several levels ahead of them. Ancient Moon Cave Heaven, Luo Sheng Sect, and Bright Thunder Spirit Religion, none of them had a single Saint Realm Master, but it was rumored that Soaring Heaven Sect had 2 or 3 Saint Realm Masters. Below the Saint Realm, the 4 Third Order Transcendent Realm Masters were also well known. These 4 were all extremely powerful masters, and Sangyin was one of them. However, in the eyes of those who didn't know the details, Soaring Heaven Sect was on equal footing with the other 3 great forces because it didn't have many disciples, far less than Bright Thunder Spirit Religion and the other great forces. Yang Kai was led by Sangyin all the way, constantly asking about Soaring Heaven Sect along the way. Sangyin seemed to be a relatively taciturn person who cherished his words like gold, but he still patiently answered Yang Kai's questions. At the same time, he also observed Yang Kai along the way. Sangyin was also confused as to why his ancestral founder wanted him to find this boy. Half a day later, just as they were about to reach Soaring Heaven Sect, Sangyin suddenly stopped and stared ahead suspiciously, seemingly having discovered something. Soon, Yang Kai also noticed a powerful aura rapidly approaching. This aura and life force fluctuations were not any weaker than Sangyin's, but unlike the pressure he felt from Sangyin, this aura was much softer, like a flowing river. Yang Kai couldn't help showing a curious expression, but he didn't ask anything and just waited quietly. A moment later, a blue light quickly approached from the distance and stopped in front of Sangyin. The blue light dissipated and a beautiful woman dressed in an unusually bold dress appeared in front of Sangyin. This beautiful woman had snow-white skin and a pair of watery eyes that seemed to contain 10,000 kinds of amorous feelings. At the corner of her mouth was a black mole the size of a grain of rice, adding to her charm. The beautiful woman's face was filled with a lazy smile. Her upper body was exposed, revealing half of her snow-white breasts and her ravine. Her lower body was wearing a slit skirt. Her long and slender legs were exposed to the air, and the hazy beauty between her legs could be faintly seen. Yang Kai was stunned and couldn't help staring at her a few more times. The beautiful woman didn't try to avoid him, nor did she show the slightest shyness. Instead, she simply looked at Yang Kai with a smile, a look of interest appearing on her gorgeous face. Songyan's brow furrowed. "Feiyu, why did you come out? Didn't martial ancestors' seclusion in half a year?" "Of course, it's not like Yu's martial ancestors' imprisonment ends. You're not going to tell me you're sneaking out here." "I didn't sneak out." Feiyu curled her lips and lightly gritted her teeth. Without seeing any movement, she suddenly appeared in front of Yang Kai, stretched out a delicate hand, and lifted Yang Kai's chin. "Where are you from, little brother? Why do you look so unfamiliar?" Yang Kai couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over his body. Songyan quickly pulled Yang Kai behind him and stood between him and Feiyu like a mother hen protecting her chicks. He frowned and said, "Don't be ridiculous, this is the person the martial ancestor is looking for." "The person the martial ancestor is looking for?" Feiyu heard this and a strange light appeared in her beautiful eyes. "Why is the martial ancestor looking for him?" "I don't know." Songyan shook his head, "But he's not your toy." "I know." Feiyu curled her lips impatiently. "Let's talk about your problem. Why didn't you obediently stay in the sect? Why did you come out here?" "The martial ancestor told me to come out," Feiyu giggled. "Without the martial ancestor's order, how would I dare to come out?" She paused, then said with her beautiful eyes, "Yes, the martial ancestor told me to redeem myself by doing good deeds. He said that if I can solve this problem, I'll be exempted from the 6 months of seclusion." "What problem did he ask you to solve?" Songyan asked curiously, but as soon as he said it, he slapped himself and raised his hand. "Pretend I didn't ask. I'm going back to the sect. You can do as you please." "Don't go." Feiyu grabbed Songyan's arm and said sweetly, "Since you asked, of course I'll tell you." Saying so, she didn't care whether Songyan was willing or not and began explaining. 100 kilometers away from Soaring Heaven sect, a disciple who was cultivating found a cave with some barriers and rich world energy. It should have been a blessed land left behind by some powerful master many years ago. The disciple was unable to break through the barriers, so he returned to the sect and gathered a group of his brothers and junior brothers. More than a dozen people worked together to open the blessed land, hoping to find some opportunities, but unexpectedly, there was a hidden trap inside the blessed land. Caught off guard, all of them were poisoned. All those who entered were poisoned by an exotic ancient insect called the soul-devouring insect. When this news reached Soaring Heaven sect, the martial ancestor asked Feiyu to deal with it. Soul-devouring insect? Songyan's face also changed greatly. Aren't these exotic ancient insects extinct? Who knows? Feiyu shrugged her shoulders. I don't know which despicable bastard left behind this blessed land near our Soaring Heaven sect. If we find his body, we'll definitely tear him apart. Martial ancestor wants you to go. How are you going to deal with it? Those things aren't something ordinary people can deal with, even you may end up buried inside. Feiyu said with an aggrieved and pitiful look. So, Songyan, please help me. How can I help you? I have no way to deal with these exotic ancient insects. You cultivate a fire attribute secret art, can't you just burn them to death? The fire of Yuan Qi, do you think it can burn them to death? You're being too whimsical. Songyan coldly snorted, suddenly glancing over at Yang Kai, a thoughtful expression appearing on her face. But besides you, no one can help me. Rimaru and Fei Jian, those two bastards, when they learned I took on such a task, they're all hiding from me. They're simply too hateful. Feiyu ground her teeth in disdain. I should have been hiding from you too. Songyan felt a headache coming on. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have asked that question. After living with this woman for so many years, Songyan still couldn't help but be deceived by her appearance, often falling into her traps. It's too late now, Feiyu looked coldly at Songyan. You have to help me, even if you don't want to. Songyan sighed helplessly. I really can't do it this time. I have to take this kid back to see the martial ancestor as soon as possible. You've already delayed it for 2 months. What's a little more time? Come with me to take a look. If you really can't do it, I won't force you, Feiyu tried to persuade her. Songyan frowned, seeming to be weighing the pros and cons. Feiyu saw that there was hope, so she quickly struck while the iron was hot, continuously persuading her. After a while, Songyan nodded slightly. All right, I'll help you this time, but I can't guarantee that it'll work. Feiyu was overjoyed and praised repeatedly. I knew you were the best, Rimaru and Fei Jian, those 2 bastards, next time they'll die. But I also have a request. What request? Songyan coughed lightly. I remember that 50 years ago, you brewed a batch of 1,000 safflower wine, right? Feiyu's pretty face changed and she gritted her teeth. You remember something that happened 50 years ago? I've always been thinking about good things. Songyan nodded slightly and said matter-of-factly, yes, if you succeed, you'll give me half. No, that 1,000 safflower wine was brewed from 1,000 types of spirit flowers that I traveled all over the world. And after 50 years of waiting, I haven't even had a sip myself, and now you want half? You're even worse than Rimaru and Fei Jian. If that's the case, I'd rather not have your help. Yang Kai stared at this beautiful woman in amazement, faintly feeling that this so-called 1,000 safflower wine was more valuable than her life. You brewed 20 jars, even if you give me half, you still have 10. At most, I'll give you 1 jar, don't even think about it. 8 jars. 1 jar. 5 jars. After some hard bargaining, Songyan could only pinch her nose and agree, fine, 1 jar it is. That depends on whether you have the ability or not. Feiyu spat disdainfully, if you can't help, I won't give you a sip. Saying so, she glared at Yang Kai. Smelly brat, what are you laughing at? Is it funny? No, but it's quite interesting. Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders, watching 2/3 order transcendents bicker endlessly while feeling the friendship between them really made one feel warm inside. Yang Kai seemed to have not experienced such a feeling for a long time. Ever since he came to Tongxian realm, he had been all alone. Let's go. Where is that blessed land? Having reached an agreement, Songyan didn't want to waste any more time. Come with me, Feiyu said, leading the way. As this beautiful woman flew, her round buttocks and willowy waist swayed back and forth, her jet-black hair fluttering in the wind, revealing her fair and slender neck that was as delicate as porcelain. Don't look at her, be careful she doesn't gouge your eyes out, Songyan whispered in Yang Kai's ear. That wouldn't be possible, right? Yang Kai was stunned. Last time, there was an elder from Luo Sheng sect, because he looked at her too much, she. As Songyan spoke, he gestured with his hand as if he was chopping down, brushing past Yang Kai's lower body. Yang Kai's face went black. That's why Ancestral Founder put her in solitary confinement. Songyan nodded seriously, but don't be fooled by her coquettish dress. In fact, she's still a virgin. Before Songyan finished speaking, a soft fist flew towards him, catching him off guard and sending him flying more than 1,000 meters. Feiyu stood in the air, her pretty face cold as she stared coldly at Songyan, who was sent flying, and scolded, Do you really think I'm deaf? Yang Kai couldn't help but gulp, secretly worried for Songyan. Little brother, come here, elder sister will take you away. Feiyu suddenly smiled and waved to Yang Kai. Without waiting for him to answer, she wrapped him in her yuan qi and flew forward side by side. Smelling the fragrance of this beautiful woman, Yang Kai was a little unnatural, but his expression was serious and he didn't look sideways. Don't listen to that bastard, he only knows how to slander me. Feiyu said softly, her breath like orchids, touching his heartstrings. It doesn't matter if you look at me a little more, elder sister won't hurt you, I'm very gentle. Chapter 689. Atop a solitary mountain peak, Songyan, Feiyu, and Yang Kai landed halfway up the mountain and carefully investigated the surrounding area. The 2/3 order transcendent masters quickly locked onto a certain area. Yang Kai also faintly noticed that there was some subtle energy overflowing from this place. However, looking around, this territory in front of him was no different from the surrounding area, It was just an ordinary piece of land. It should be a smokescreen, not bad. No wonder no one has been able to discover the mysteries of this place for so many years. Xianxia showed a look of surprise as he glanced around. I'm afraid too much time has passed and the sect's disciples have inadvertently discovered the mysteries of this place. Feiyu also agreed. Don't waste time, let's begin. Xianxia stretched out his foot and stomped the ground, releasing an unusually hot aura. Yang Kai suddenly saw a series of mysterious runes appear on the ground. These runes swam about like tadpoles, struggling for a moment before all of them suddenly burst into flames and were reduced to ashes. Xianxia cultivated a fire attribute secret art, so his yuan qi flames were exceptionally pure, so with his third-order transcendent strength, it was naturally easy for him to break through this smokescreen that had been left behind for so many years. A strange black hole appeared on the ground, only large enough for one person to pass through at a time. Feiyu didn't say anything and simply jumped in, soon disappearing from sight. Xianxia waved his hand and said, "Go in." "I'm going in too?" Yang Kai was stunned. He had thought he would have to wait up there. After all, more than a dozen soaring heaven sect disciples had met with misfortune inside, so there was bound to be many dangers inside. If he were to rush in, he would only become a burden to these two masters. "Of course you're going in," Xianxia smiled slyly. "I'm afraid we'll have to rely on you this time." "Rely on me?" Yang Kai was even more surprised. "Senior, you must be joking." "I'm not joking. If I was alone, I wouldn't have agreed to Feiyu's request. But it's different with you. You'll know once you're inside," the Xianxia said as he threw Yang Kai down. Yang Kai had no choice but to quietly condense his yuan qi and focus his mind to guard against the unexpected. The hole seemed to be very deep. Yang Kai slid all the way down for the time it took to burn a stick of incense before he finally stepped on the ground. He steadied himself and stepped to the side. The Xianxia also quickly landed. "So slow." Feiyu pouted in dissatisfaction. Xianxia didn't say a word. A bright fireball suddenly appeared beside him, illuminating the surroundings. "It's definitely a blessed land. I wonder which senior's abode this is." Xianxia's eyes lit up when he felt the energy of heaven and earth here. Feiyu also seemed to be excited. Since it's a blessed land, there must be treasures here. "It's very possible." Xianxia nodded. "Let's go." With that, he took the lead and led the way. Feiyu and Yang Kai followed closely behind him, extremely vigilant. As they walked, Feiyu suddenly leaned close to Yang Kai and gently breathed into his ear. She whispered, "Don't use your yuan qi. There are soul-devouring worms here. They love yuan qi the most. Once they infect you, you're done for." That's how those disciples met with misfortune. Yang Kai's expression froze. He quickly nodded. Suddenly, he was confused and asked, "Since they met with misfortune, how did you get the news? Did they spread the news?" "No, they didn't." Feiyu shook her head. "It was martial ancestor who said so. My martial ancestor's ability is great. Everything within a 500-kilometer radius, as long as he wants it, will be within his grasp." Kai Yang's face was filled with shock. Soaring Heaven Sect's martial ancestor was truly amazing. Yang Kai's divine sense was also extremely powerful. The range of his perception was about 100 kilometers, but the further away he was, the less clear his perception became and the more spiritual energy he consumed. On the other hand, Soaring Heaven Sect's martial ancestor could explore a 500-kilometer radius. The difference between the two was like the difference between heaven and earth. The Xianxia's footsteps suddenly came to a halt because in front of him, a cultivator wearing Soaring Heaven Sect's robes was lying on the ground, his eyes wide open. Bending down to examine him, the Xianxia slowly shook his head. This person was obviously dead. Feiyu no longer whispered to Yang Kai, her pretty face becoming dignified as she took out a bell-like artifact and activated its power to protect herself and Yang Kai while following closely behind the Xianxia. This artifact should be a soul-type artifact, at the very least spirit grade. As soon as he summoned this artifact, Yang Kai suddenly felt as if he was soaking in water, warm and comfortable. "Be careful, follow me closely, don't stray too far from me." With your insignificant cultivation, once you're targeted by those soul-devouring insects, you'll die without a doubt, Fei Yu quickly warned. Yang Kai nodded firmly, not daring to show the slightest carelessness. That Xianxian's courage stemmed from his skill, so he continued to explore the path ahead. From time to time, they would encounter one or two soaring heaven sect disciples who had fallen victim to the attack. After careful investigation, most of them were already dead, with only 3 or 5 of them remaining unconscious. The Xianxian, without exception, gave these unconscious disciples some pills. After walking for an unknown period of time, the group of 3 suddenly came across a large bronze gate. Just as the 3 of them arrived here, a black fog suddenly flew out from the bronze gate, and from this black fog, countless tiny things that could not be seen with the naked eye rushed towards the trio. The Xianxian's face changed greatly as he hurriedly retreated, his yuan qi fiercely spurting out a burst of flames, but the black fog was unable to be incinerated and was only able to slightly slow down its speed. Soul-devouring insects! Fei Yu exclaimed, her beautiful face going pale, her yuan qi bursting forth and forming a series of water arrows that shot towards the black fog. Why are there still so many of them? Fei Yu's voice trembled slightly as she shouted, "Xian, run!" Although she and the Xianxian had both reached the third-order transcendent realm and were extremely powerful masters, in the face of these exotic ancient insects, they were still somewhat helpless. The only thing they could do now was to escape from here and report back to their ancestral founder before making a decision. The Xianxian, on the other hand, did not seem to be in a hurry as he rushed over to Fei Yu and Yang Kai's side, staring at the rapidly approaching black fog and shouting to Yang Kai, "Use your divine sense to burn them." Yang Kai was stunned for a moment before quickly reacting, sending out his spiritual energy in the nick of time. A scorching hot aura filled the air as a burst of flames exploded midair. The black fog that had rendered the Xianxian and Fei Yu helpless was suddenly burned to ashes. Conflagrated knowledge, see? Fei Yu's beautiful eyes lit up as she stared at Yang Kai in surprise. She had not expected that this young man would possess such a rare conflagrated knowledge. See? Do you think I would accompany you here to die? Song Yen snorted, a smug look appearing on his face. Yang Kai's expression remained serious. After realizing that his conflagrated knowledge was actually the nemesis of these exotic ancient insects, he no longer felt nervous and stepped forward towards the closed bronze door. He could feel that there were countless tiny life forms hidden behind this door. These should be the soul-devouring insects. The dozen or so soaring heaven sect disciples should have met their tragic end here. Yang Kai continued to release his conflagrated knowledge, and the soul-devouring insects did not even have a chance to escape from the bronze door before they were all burned to death. The Xianxian and Fei Yu were both overjoyed. After a while, Yang Kai withdrew his divine sense and nodded to the two. They should all be dead. Little brother did a good job. Fei Yu swayed her hips as she walked up and patted Yang Kai's shoulder affectionately. Elder sister likes young and promising boys like you. We should get closer in the future. Ah. Yang Kai let out a few dry laughs. The Xianxian also walked over and stared at the closed bronze door, an eager look on her face. Since this was a secluded cave mansion left behind by the ancient people, there must be some treasures behind this bronze door. Do you want to go in and take a look? The Xianxian turned her head and glanced at Fei Yu. We've already come all this way, are you going to turn a blind eye to it? Fei Yu smiled lightly. Yang Kai's eyes flashed as he said, I'll wait for you here. The Xianxian and Fei Yu stared at him, and Yang Kai explained, there might be other traps inside, I'll only be a burden if I go in. That's fine. The Xianxian nodded, then you wait here, we'll be back soon. Be careful. Fei Yu coquettishly warned. Yang Kai nodded, and the Xianxian and Fei Yu pushed open the bronze door, rushed inside, and disappeared. After they left, Yang Kai slowly walked up to the bronze door and stared at it with a subtle smile on his face. His divine sense cleverly burst forth, and soon, wisps of black fog drifted out from the bronze door. The soul-devouring insects weren't all dead. Yang Kai also knew that the Xianxian and Fei Yu didn't dare to release their divine senses easily, so he had taken advantage of this to successfully deceive them. Yang Kai didn't know why Soaring Heaven Sect's ancestral founder wanted to see him or what he wanted to do with him. On Tong Xin realm, Yang Kai's strength wasn't too high, so these soul-devouring insects that even third-order transcendents were helpless against had provided him with a powerful trump card. Perhaps it was a bit suspicious of him being a petty man, but Yang Kai had to make some plans for his future. Knowing that there would be treasures behind the bronze door, Yang Kai didn't search for them. Firstly, he wanted to collect these soul-devouring insects, and secondly, he didn't want to get into a dispute with the Xianxia and Feiyu. If they found something good but didn't share it with him, Yang Kai felt that he would definitely hold a grudge against them. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. His spiritual energy flowed out of his body, guiding the soul-devouring insects into his knowledge sea. The soul-devouring insects were living creatures, so unlike the yin-yang monster ginseng, they couldn't be stored inside the black book space. Under the influence of Yang Kai's spiritual energy, the soul-devouring insects seemed to become extremely obedient, all of them rushing into his knowledge sea at his will. Yang Kai controlled the energy in his knowledge sea to prevent the conflagrated knowledge sea from harming them, placing them all on the island formed by the 5-colored soul-warming lotus. In the entire knowledge sea, this was the only place without a conflagrated knowledge sea, making it the most suitable place to place the soul-devouring insects. Chapter 690. Today's update. The soul-devouring insects loved to devour spiritual energy while the 5-colored soul-warming lotus was constantly emitting a magical energy to nourish Yang Kai's soul. As soon as these exotic ancient insects fell onto the 5-colored island, they became excited, as if they had entered a comfortable nest and were no longer willing to leave. This unexpected result was not within Yang Kai's calculations, but it was still something he was happy to see. As long as he could control them well, not only would these exotic ancient insects not cause him any harm, Yang Kai could even use his spiritual energy to cultivate them, strengthen them, and when he needed them, release them to meet his enemies. After obtaining the soul-devouring insects, Yang Kai had gained another layer of self-protection. Although in terms of physical strength, he was still only a peak immortal ascension boundary cultivator, not even reaching the transcendent realm. In a battle of spiritual energy, Yang Kai felt that he no longer needed to fear Saint Realm Masters. His conflagrated knowledge sea and soul-devouring insects could both be used externally, and although the solitary golden eye could only be used inside his knowledge sea, if some master overestimated their strength and sent their soul into Yang Kai's knowledge sea, they would definitely not be able to return. With this additional layer of protection, Yang Kai felt slightly relieved. After thinking about it for a moment, Yang Kai did not stay in place and instead walked out. He wanted to collect all the exotic ancient insects in the knowledge seas of the Soaring Heaven sect disciples who were still alive. There were only about 4 or 5 people still alive, so if he left them alone, they would all die. Even Soaring Heaven sect's martial ancestor would be helpless to save them. Although Yang Kai's starting point was for his own sake, if he succeeded, he could also save their lives and win the favor of Soaring Heaven sect's masters, a win-win business. Without any burdens in his heart, Yang Kai acted boldly. Inside the Bronze Gate, after Xianxia and Feiyu rushed in, they continued to search for hidden treasures. Both of them seemed to have gained something as well, and they seemed to be very excited. Xianxia, I suddenly remembered that the ancestral master sent me out to do something at this time, and I just happened to bump into you bringing that kid back. This shouldn't be a coincidence, right? Feiyu seemed to have sensed something, and asked as she searched for treasures. It shouldn't be a coincidence. The Xianxia nodded. Grandmaster probably wants to use this opportunity to test the young man's temperament. Did you know from the beginning? Feiyu looked at the Xianxia with a faint smile. Of course, the moment I heard about the soul-devouring worms, I understood what the patriarch was planning. Soul-devouring insects can only be dealt with by those with conflagrated knowledge sea. How could it be so coincidental that I just happened to bring someone with conflagrated knowledge sea back? The Xianxia said in a deep voice, if I didn't bring him back, the ancestral master wouldn't have let you do this. From the looks of it, ancestral master doesn't seem to know what kind of person that little fellow is. Then why did the ancestral master find him? I don't understand. More than 2 months ago, the ancestral master suddenly asked me to find him. It took me a lot of effort to find out his whereabouts. The Xianxia frowned slightly, and he doesn't know the ancestral master. Strange, the ancestral master is always so unpredictable. Fei Yu curled her lips. However, since you already know the ancestral master's intentions, you still dare to bargain with me on this condition. You're too shameless. You won't get a share of the 1,000 safflower wine. Hearing this, the Xianxia's face turned bitter. Conflagrated knowledge, see, interesting? Fei Yu muttered with a smile. He's also a spirit-grade alchemist, the Xianxia added. Fei Yu's tender body shook. Are you serious? I think this may be the reason the ancestral master asked me to find him. This little brat's future is boundless. I'm really looking forward to him stirring up a storm in Tongxian realm and becoming an existence not inferior to the old man of Heaven's Keep. If that's the case, then I really need to get close to him. Such a talent is rare. Fei Yu also finally became dignified. Only now did she realize that she had underestimated Yang Kai. And I always felt that his potential was far greater than this. This little brat has many mysteries. With his current performance, if he is properly trained, he may really be able to surpass the young talents from the top forces of Tongxian realm and become the most dazzling new star. The person the ancestral master has chosen is definitely not a vulgar person, Fei Yu also agreed. The two masters secretly decided that before Yang Kai revealed his true strength, they had to establish a good relationship with him. After all, when Yang Kai rode the wind and broke through the waves and became a dragon, it would be of great benefit to them. After about a day and a night, Yang Kai saw Xianxia and Fei Yu come out from behind the bronze gate. Both of them were overjoyed. It seemed that their harvest was not small. Seeing Yang Kai sitting cross-legged and waiting quietly with 4 or 5 soaring heaven sect disciples lying beside him, Xianxia and Fei Yu couldn't help showing surprised looks. I had nothing to do, so I tried to expel the soul-devouring insects from their knowledge seas, but I didn't expect to succeed so easily. These people should be able to recover after a year or so of cultivation, Yang Kai explained. Not bad, Xianxia's eyes lit up as she praised. Before, he and Fei Yu had not cared about the life or death of these disciples and had only given them pills because they didn't know what to do, so they thought they were doomed, but now Yang Kai had given them a pleasant surprise. Elder sister likes you more and more. Fei Yu smiled tenderly. You can be considered the savior of these disciples. Rest assured, elder sister will definitely not treat you unfairly. Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, Are you done? Xianxia smiled lightly, suddenly reaching out and taking out a few things, placing them in front of Yang Kai and shouting, Take a look, whatever you want, just take it. These are the things Fei Yu and I found inside, but unfortunately, most of them have been reduced to dust due to the passage of time. I also get a share? Yang Kai pointed to himself and asked in surprise. Of course, did you think we would take everything for ourselves? Fei Yu smiled tenderly. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't even have been able to enter the gate, let alone search for treasures. You also saved several of my sect's disciples, so you are the biggest contributor. Then I won't be polite. Yang Kai smiled slightly, his eyes rolling over the few things in front of him. Xianxia and Fei Yu looked at each other and nodded secretly, thinking that this little brat was really a character. If it were any other young man in front of the two of them, they would not dare to say this. They would definitely refuse and would rather give up the benefits in front of them to leave a good impression on them. When it was time to act, he acted decisively. In front of Kai Yang were 5 things, 3 artifacts, 1 secret art, and the last one was a black stone the size of a fist. These were indeed all the useful things Xianxia and Fei Yu found inside, and they did not hide this matter. Of the 3 artifacts, the worst one was spirit-grade top rank, while the remaining 2 were saint-grade artifacts, their value immeasurable. Even as strong as Xianxia and Fei Yu were, they had never owned a saint-grade artifact. As for that cultivation technique, it was a pretty good one as well. It was a high-grade spirit-level cultivation technique. Yang Kai looked through them one by one, and his eyes finally landed on the dark stone. This stone was round, and he could not tell what material it was made of. Yang Kai poured yuan qi into it, but there was no reaction. He also released his divine sense, but he could not find any clues. What is this? Yang Kai looked at the two of them and asked. Xianxia and Feiyu both shook their heads. They knew nothing about this stone. It was placed in a very hidden place, so they brought it out casually. Then I'll take this, Yang Kai said with a smile. Xianxia frowned and said seriously, you should choose a secret art to protect yourself. You probably can't use a saint-grade artifact, your strength is not enough, you can't use the full power of the secret art, and it may even backfire on you. However, this spirit-grade top-rank artifact is very good. Yeah, you don't have to be so modest. Feiyu was also puzzled. She thought that this kid was very decisive. Why did he suddenly change his personality? She did not like this. Choosing a stone of unknown use, it was a loss no matter how she looked at it. I'm not being modest. Yang Kai laughed. Since you can't tell the origin of this thing, it means that it's either worthless or very valuable. If I take it, I may earn more than you. You're gambling. Xianxia did not agree. The profit in hand is the real profit. Since it's here and you brought it out, it means that it's very likely to be valuable. You two are not blind people. Yang Kai smiled and put away the dark stone. I don't need the secret art, and I don't need the secret art. I'll take it. Since you're so insistent, we won't say anything. Don't cry when you find out that you've lost. Feiyu snorted and no longer tried to dissuade him. Together with the Xianxia, in front of Yang Kai, they divided up the remaining 4 things. The two of them each obtained a saint-grade artifact. As for the remaining spirit-grade high-rank artifact and cultivation method, they each took one at random. With such a bountiful harvest, both the Xianxia and Feiyu were very happy. Let's go out, martial ancestors should be waiting for us, Xianxia said, grabbing 2 unconscious disciples and taking the lead to walk out. Feiyu also grabbed 2 and turned to Yang Kai. You take the last one, I specifically left a beauty for you. Don't worry too much, she should be a flower without a master. Take advantage of her while she's unconscious to take advantage of her. As they spoke, their expressions were ambiguous, as if they knew what Yang Kai was thinking. Yang Kai couldn't help laughing, carrying the last soaring heaven sect female disciple on his back and following them out. Returning the way they came, the 3 of them using their movement skills all the way up, soon arriving halfway up the mountain. Identifying the direction, the Xianxia didn't say a word and flew off in the direction of soaring heaven sect. Yang Kai and Feiyu hurriedly followed. After an hour or so, the 3 of them arrived at a huge mountain valley. Looking down, there were many scattered houses and cultivator activity in the valley below. Chapter 691. Although the cultivator here was not as densely packed as the Thunderlight sect, Yang Kai found that the overall level of these cultivators was much higher than the Thunderlight sects. The world energy here was as rich as a river, flowing endlessly through the mountain valley. Yang Kai had only just arrived, but after taking a single breath, he felt his whole body relax, relaxing his mind and relaxing his whole body. The mountain valley was so large that Yang Kai could not see the end of it from midair. He could not help but be surprised. Rather than calling this a mountain valley, it would be more accurate to call it a sunken plain. Around the mountain valley, there were more than 100 mountain peaks that pierced the sky. There were many birds, beasts, spirit grasses, and spirit medicines growing on these peaks, exuding a vibrant vitality. These mountain peaks seemed to be scattered around the mountain valley, but Yang Kai always felt that they were arranged in a special way. The world energy in the distance seemed to be attracted by some kind of mysterious force and was continuously flowing into the mountain valley through the surrounding hundreds of mountain peaks, nourishing the cultivators in the mountain valley and the spirit grasses and medicines growing on the mountain peaks. Xianxia and Feiyu glanced at each other and secretly nodded. Yang Kai could see that there was some mystery here at a glance. Obviously, his eyesight was extraordinary. These 100 mountain peaks are the foundation of my soaring heaven sect, Xianxia explained. Oh, is there something special about them? Naturally, there is. Xianxia gently nodded. You should have noticed that the world energy outside is gathering towards the sect. This is the 100 Peaks Spirit Array. With the surrounding 101 mountain peaks as its pivot, it is a shocking giant spirit array. Only half of these mountain peaks are naturally formed. And the other half? It was created by the ancestral founder. Xianxia grinned. Yang Kai was shocked and exclaimed, "Your sect's ancestral founder is really amazing." Naturally, when one's strength reaches a certain level, they can overturn rivers and seas, even pluck the stars and summon the moon. It is rumored that some masters can enter the depths of the star field and seek out all kinds of great opportunities and fortunes from the stars. Deep into star field? Yang Kai's eyes were filled with amazement. It was as if a great door was slowly opening in front of him, allowing him to see many mysteries that he had never imagined before. His eyes couldn't help but shine as he listened carefully. Deep into star field. Xianxia nodded firmly. "You saw a strange cyan stone in Old Man Du's hand a few days ago. That's a product of the star field. It doesn't exist in Tongxian realm. That stone is extremely precious. Unfortunately, it was damaged in the end." Inside the star field, there are all kinds of herbs and ores you can't even imagine, all of them far surpassing Saint grade. There are even star beasts that are more powerful than Saint realm masters. Each one of them is extremely powerful and extremely large. Perhaps even the smallest one is larger than my soaring heaven sect's mountain valley. Kai Yang opened his mouth wide, a look of disbelief on his face. What Xianxia said was simply too incredible. And that's just a legend. As for what the star field is like, in fact, even I don't know. No master has ever proven that they have ever entered the star field. Xianxia sniffed and added. Yang Kai couldn't help smiling as he nodded, but your soaring heaven sect's 100 Peaks Spirit Array is also quite amazing. Where I come from, it's an unimaginable feat. Where you come from? Xianxia was stunned. I come from a small place. It's a remote place, not as wonderful as this world, Yang Kai explained faintly. So that's how it is, Xianxia nodded. Xianxia nodded lightly. The 100 Peaks Spirit Array is indeed a magnificent feat even in Tongxian realm. It is rare to see such a thing. This spirit array not only gathers world energy, but also plays a defensive role in the event of a great disaster. However, no one has ever dared to invade my soaring heaven sect, so I've never seen the 100 Peaks Spirit Array fully activated. The two of you don't need to talk nonsense, hurry up and descend. Fei Yu interrupted the conversation between the two impatiently. Let me introduce you to little brother. Xianxia decided to build a good relationship with Yang Kai, so the way he addressed him became more intimate. Xianxia no longer said anything and led Yang Kai and Fei Yu down the mountain valley. Perhaps it was because the world energy aura here was too rich, but looking down from midair, the scenery was not very vivid. Everything below the mountain valley seemed to be shrouded in clouds and mist, as if it was a dangerous place. A moment later, the trio landed. As Xianxia walked forward, the soaring heaven sect disciples he encountered along the way all greeted him respectfully. These cultivators' cultivation was not low, most of them having reached the immortal ascension boundary, their auras incredibly strong, seemingly much stronger than any other cultivator of the same realm. Yang Kai couldn't help marveling at this sight. These soaring heaven sect disciples all had extremely strong vitality, their physique and meridians were exceptionally strong, and their yuan qi was also extremely rich. Obviously, their combat strength was not to be underestimated. After handing over the 5 rescued disciples to these people, Xianxia led Yang Kai to a relatively remote courtyard and said, "You can stay here for now, I'll come find you after I report to Martial Ancestor." "Don't I need to see that senior now?" Yang Kai frowned. He thought he would have to see soaring heaven sect's Martial Ancestor immediately. Yang Kai had many questions in his heart and wanted to see this Saint Realm Master so he could resolve his doubts, but listening to Xianxia's words, it was obviously not time yet. "Wait until Martial Ancestor summons you." Xianxia smiled, not saying anything more, turning around and leaving in a carefree manner. Fei Yu glanced over at Yang Kai and said considerately, "You don't have to feel too much psychological burden. Martial Ancestor won't have any malicious intent towards a little guy like you. If he really wanted to harm you, he wouldn't have sent Xianxia. And here, I'll give you 2 things to pass the time." Saying so, she suddenly threw two things to Yang Kai. Yang Kai caught them and found that they were actually shackles made of some unknown stone material. What are these? Yang Kai examined them and found that there wasn't anything special about them. Weighing them in his hand, they didn't seem to weigh more than half a kilogram, and there were no traces of spirit arrays or energy inside them. It really did seem like they were just toys. Try pouring your yuan qi into them as much as you can, Fei Yu reminded him. Yang Kai nodded and poured his yuan qi into the two shackles. In the next moment, he suddenly felt a heavy feeling hit him. This heavy feeling was so heavy that even he couldn't hold it firmly. His body was pulled forward and he almost fell to the ground. Tumbling a few times in the air, Yang Kai managed to avoid this embarrassing fate. Hong hong. Accompanied by two muffled sounds, the two shackles fell to the ground, creating a huge crater. Yang Kai's face paled as he stared at the scene in front of him. Accompanied by a burst of giggling laughter, Fei Yu seemed to be overjoyed. Are you messing with me? Yang Kai frowned and stared at this beautiful woman. Because he felt that this woman didn't have any malicious intentions, Yang Kai naturally didn't think much of it, but he didn't expect her to be so evil. Those two shackles were obviously not some ordinary toy, but something of great significance. Sister is just teaching you, don't trust anyone easily. Fei Yu giggled. Yang Kai took a deep breath and nodded. Thank you, Auntie, you really are insidious. Fei Yu's laughter suddenly stopped, her pair of beautiful eyes spitting fire as she stared at Yang Kai. A burst of laughter came from the top of a nearby tree. Fei Yu raised her hand and summoned a giant water dragon, sending it flying towards the man hiding in the tree and biting him. If you laugh one more time, I'll tear your mouth off. Fei Yu glared at the man coldly. The man shrunk his neck and didn't dare laugh again, flicking his finger and shattering Fei Yu's water dragon before disappearing like a bolt of lightning, his voice calling out from afar, Boy, if you want to live a long life, you'd best stay away from that crazy woman. Rimaru, you're dead today. Fei Yu's tender body flickered as she chased after him. Yang Kai's expression became solemn. Another third-order transcendent master. Just now, this man had been hiding nearby. Even Yang Kai hadn't noticed him, his aura completely concealed. Although it was only a quick glance, Yang Kai was able to clearly see this man's face. He was thin, short, and had a mustache on either side of his mouth, giving him an extremely wretched appearance. He was a master who was particularly easy to remember. On the way here, Xianxia had told him that Soaring Heaven sect had 4 third-order transcendent realm protectors, Xianxia and Fei Yu being one of them. This Rimaru should also be one of them. As for the remaining one, Yang Kai hadn't seen him yet. But now, it seemed that these 4 all had their own specialties within their respective territory. Xianxia's specialties were fire, Fei Yu's were water, and Rimaru's should be speed or strength. Yang Kai had clearly seen this man's sudden burst of strength and naturally understood how tyrannical he was. Standing in place, no one came to greet him, causing Yang Kai's expression to become somewhat strange. Arriving at such a powerful sect without knowing the specific reason for his actions made Yang Kai feel somewhat uncomfortable. However, there was no point in thinking too much about it. Right now, he could only wait until he met with Soaring Heaven sect's ancestral founder to ask for an explanation. His eyes flashing, Yang Kai stared at the 2 strange shackles in the pit in front of him and reached out to pick them up. When he touched them, Yang Kai was surprised to find that these 2 shackles weren't heavy at all. Just as he had felt before, they were at most half a kilogram in weight. However, just now, they had been so heavy that they had almost sent him flying and even created a large pit in the ground. Frowning and hesitating for a moment, Yang Kai poured his yuan qi into the shackles. The next moment, Yang Kai's brow rose. Sure enough, as he expected, as he poured in his yuan qi, the 2 shackles on his hands became much heavier, causing his shoulders to tremble slightly. Continuing to pour in, the feeling of heaviness became more and more intense. Yang Kai hadn't exerted his full strength yet, but he found that he couldn't hold the 2 shackles any longer. They weighed at least 5 or 6,000 kilograms. The place where he stood suddenly began to crack like a spider web, as if the ground was unable to withstand such a huge pressure. After perceiving the mystery of these two shackles, Yang Kai smiled happily, suddenly feeling that the things Fei Yu had thrown to him were really good. They were not only useful for killing time, but also useful for tempering his physical strength. Chapter 692. Soaring Heaven Sect, Inside a Secret Room. Xianxia stood respectfully in place, reporting to the martial ancestor what had happened after seeing Yang Kai. After hearing that Yang Kai had killed Duan Hai and Su Qi in front of Xia Chengyin, Soaring Heaven Sect's martial ancestor couldn't help showing a meaningful smile. Soon after, martial ancestor spoke about what had happened in the cave mansion, causing him to be quite surprised. He has a conflagrated knowledge, see? Xianxia nodded solemnly. Does martial ancestor not know? I don't know. The old man slowly shook his head. I only vaguely felt that this matter could only be solved with his help, so when you were about to return, I sent Fei Yu over. Then martial ancestor has never seen that little brat before? I haven't seen him before, but he has some kind of relationship with this old master. Xianxia looked confused, obviously not understanding what kind of relationship Yang Kai had with the martial ancestor. Good, besides you and Du Wan, Xia Chengyin also knows that he has a conflagrated knowledge, see, right? The martial ancestor asked lightly. Xianxia's expression became solemn as he nodded lightly. Yes, that little girl from the Alchemist Guild also knows, and on the way back, Fei Yu also saw him. I understand, you may withdraw. Disciple will take his leave. Xianxia bowed and withdrew. After leaving the secret room, he stared thoughtfully in the direction of Bright Thunder Spirit Religion, a cold smile appearing on his face. Yang Kai stayed in Soaring Heaven Sect for 2 days. Only Fei Yu came to see him once. Xianxia was nowhere to be found, and no one else came to greet him. Fei Yu gave him a jar of 1,000 safflower wine, saying it was a gift to thank him for helping her in the cave mansion. This beautiful woman was somewhat wanton and uninhibited. When she came to find Kai Yang, she was drunk, her body reeking of alcohol, her cheeks were red, and her slender neck glowed a different shade of red, making her look extremely attractive. Don't drink too much this time, your little body won't be able to bear it. Fei Yu said with a smile, putting down the 1,000 safflower wine. She disappeared. Yang Kai didn't know where she went. Yang Kai just smiled helplessly, not even having a chance to inquire about this woman's whereabouts. He could only put the 1,000 safflower into his black book space and continue to walk around the courtyard. In the eyes of outsiders, he was just strolling casually, and his pace was neither fast nor slow. However, his flesh and blood were obviously wriggling endlessly, and his body seemed to be enduring an enormous and incomparable pressure. But what made people feel strange was that the place where he landed was ordinary and did not leave behind any traces. 3 days later, Xianxia suddenly appeared and beckoned to Yang Kai. Martial ancestor wants to see you. Hearing this, Yang Kai's heart was his heart. There were too many questions he needed to ask, and he also wanted to know what kind of person Soaring Heaven Sect's martial ancestor was. Yang Kai had only walked a short distance when Xianxia suddenly looked at him strangely and asked, "Are you nervous?" "No," Yang Kai shook his head. "Then why is your yuan qi constantly bursting out? And why is your physique so tight?" Xianxia's expression suddenly changed as he stared deeply at Yang Kai, asking in surprise, "Did Fei Yu give you the primordial shackles?" "Are they called the primordial shackles?" Xianxia nodded lightly. "The more yuan qi is poured in, the heavier the shackles become. How much weight are you bearing now?" "About 4,000 to 5,000 kilograms. "You're really strange boy," Xianxia said in surprise. "Did you specialize in cultivating your physique before?" "Yes, I did." His unyielding golden skeleton secret art was specifically designed to develop his physique. Now that he was bearing 4,000 to 5,000 kilograms of weight, apart from feeling a little unnatural, Yang Kai didn't seem any different from usual. Even when he walked, he didn't leave any marks on the ground. Xianxia was amazed. He had also worn Fei Yu's primordial shackles before, but when he was at Yang Kai's level, he couldn't be as relaxed as he was. How could an alchemist's physique be so strong? Alchemists were immersed in the alchemic way all year round and rarely had time to cultivate, so basically all alchemists weren't very strong. If a cultivator of the same level fought an alchemist, the one who would lose would definitely be the alchemist. However, Yang Kai had killed Duan Hai and Su Qi before, entering and exiting the Wind Eye and Thunder Eye. Songyan had seen this clearly and faintly felt that this little brat wasn't just a simple spirit-grade alchemist with a conflagrated knowledge sea. After walking for a long time, Songyan suddenly stopped in front of a house and said, "Go in, martial ancestor is waiting for you inside." Yang Kai nodded slightly, took a deep breath, and strode in. Walking into the house and turning a corner, Yang Kai saw a flickering candle that seemed to be on the verge of being extinguished at any moment. The light in the room wasn't very bright and a thin old man with white hair and a beard was sitting cross-legged. His aura was as calm as an ancient well and there was nothing special about him. Yang Kai's expression became solemn, knowing that this was Soaring Heaven Sect's martial ancestor. Looking around, he walked towards him. Arriving in front of him, Yang Kai bowed respectfully. "Junior Yang Kai greets Senior." The old man slowly opened his eyes and stared at Yang Kai, smiling kindly. "Your aptitude is good, your perseverance is good, and you have both courage and courage. It is rare to see such a young man nowadays. Senior is too kind. Sit down." Yang Kai sat down cross-legged on a cushion in front of him. After sitting down, his expression suddenly changed as he faintly smelled a faint smell of blood in the air. "I know you have a lot of questions, but don't be in a hurry to ask. Open the package in front of you and take a look," the old man said with a smile. Yang Kai looked down and sure enough saw a package in front of him. On this package, there was obviously blood seeping out, and the smell of blood was coming from this package. Yang Kai frowned slightly but didn't hesitate to open the package. After seeing what was inside, he quickly raised his head and stared at Soaring Heaven Sect's martial ancestor in shock. It was actually a human head. Bright Thunder Religion's religion master, Xia Qingyin's head. "Before you grow up, no one should be able to reveal the secret of your conflagrated knowledge sea," the old man said with a smile. "Many thanks for Senior's help." Yang Kai quickly thanked him. Originally, Yang Kai had planned to wait until he broke through to the transcendent realm before silencing these people, but he hadn't expected that Soaring Heaven Sect's martial ancestor would help him accomplish this ahead of time, allowing Yang Kai to relieve the burden in his heart. At that time, Yang Kai had no choice but to reveal the secret of his conflagrated knowledge sea because in his opinion, information about the ancient demon clan and the coffin-carrying man could not be leaked. "A trivial matter," the old man shook his head lightly. With his strength and means, killing a third-order transcendent realm religion master was indeed a trivial matter. Before Xia Qingyin could even react, his head had already fallen to the ground. "Senior," Yang Kai sat up straight and quickly asked, "May I ask, why did you do this? Why did you let the Zhangyan search for me? Why did the Zhangyan take such good care of me? On top of that, you even killed Bright Thunder Religion's religion master for me. We haven't even met before, have we?" "Ha," the old man chuckled. "This old master naturally has his reasons for doing so. And this old master's name is Chu Ling Xiao. Speaking of which, have you thought of something?" Yang Kai's expression changed, faintly perceiving some information. Staring towards the old man, the vigilance in his eyes gradually melted and became brighter and brighter. "It seems you've thought of something but aren't sure. Then, this old master will show you some evidence." Chu Ling Xiao smiled heartily, suddenly stretching out his hand and sending a burst of energy into Yang Kai's body. While Yang Kai was caught off guard, the sound of a chain being swung rang out in the secret room. A golden chain suddenly appeared out of thin air and was caught by Chu Ling Xiao. "Devil Sealing Chain!" Yang Kai exclaimed. This was an artifact he had obtained in High Heaven Pavilion's coiling dragon stream. Since obtaining it, he had only used it twice. The first time was when he killed Demon General Meng Ji's soul clone in the Evil Cavern. The second time was when he used the Devil Sealing Chain to deal with Demon Lord Yang Bai. After Yang Bai's death, Yang Kai had taken back the Devil Sealing Chain. But now, the Devil Sealing Chain had been summoned by Soaring Heaven Sect's ancestral founder. "This is this old master's possession," Chu Lingxiao looked at Yang Kai with a smile. Yang Kai only felt the confusion in front of him suddenly become clear as he suddenly understood everything. Chuckling meaningfully, he scratched his head and asked, "Ancestral founder?" Chu Lingxiao nodded lightly. This old master had not expected that after a few hundred years, someone would actually be able to travel from that world to Tongxian realm. "It seems you've suffered a lot, you've worked hard." "I haven't suffered much, I've had someone to take care of me all this time." Yang Kai's mood subtly became excited as he stared at Chu Lingxiao, feeling a sense of familiarity, as if he had just returned home. "That's good," Chu Lingxiao sighed lightly. "A few hundred years ago, this old master also went to your world and knew that the resources there were thin. You being able to reach this point is truly surprising." "So, High Heaven Pavilion was really founded by you?" Yang Kai's eyes lit up. Chu Lingxiao nodded. "The sect was named after myself. Many years ago, I chased a demon general through a void corridor and arrived in your world. I fought with him there and finally managed to disperse his soul, but I was unable to destroy his body no matter how I tried, so I had no choice but to bind it with the devil sealing chain and seal it under a mountain stream. I founded High Heaven Pavilion so that someone could guard the demon general's body. After a few dozen years there, I determined that the demon general's soul had dissipated, so I found my way back." Chu Lingxiao explained before sighing, "Time passes so quickly. Are you a disciple of High Heaven Pavilion?" Good. You being able to obtain the devil sealing chain shows that there is some kind of fate between you and me." Chu Lingxiao chuckled, pausing for a moment before asking, "What is the situation over there? Is the sect doing well?" "It's doing well now, but a few years ago, it was almost destroyed." "Oh? Tell me about it. This old master has been a bit too irresponsible towards the sect he founded." Yang Kai immediately recounted what had happened to High Heaven Pavilion over the years, not leaving out any details. It had been a long time since he had had such an open and honest conversation with someone. This old man in front of him was not only Soaring Heaven Sect's ancestral founder, but also High Heaven Pavilion's ancestral founder, so Yang Kai naturally didn't conceal anything from him. Chu Lingxiao also listened with great interest, seemingly quite interested in the successor to the other world. Chapter 693. When he heard that the current sect master of High Heaven Pavilion had actually broken through to the second-order transcendent realm, Chu Lingxiao's eyes couldn't help lighting up. He was well aware that in the other world, one needed to have extraordinary aptitude and talent to reach this level of cultivation. When he left that year, he didn't leave behind too many things, only a universe bag. This universe bag was later given to Yang Kai by Ling Tai Su, and Yang Kai passed it to Su Yen. "So you're from the Central Capital's 8 great families." When this old master was there, he also heard about the strength of the Central Capital's 8 great families. Chu Lingxiao nodded lightly. "They can't compare to this place," Yang Kai said sadly. "Any one of the forces here was stronger than the Central Capital's 8 great families." "How did you get here?" Chu Lingxiao asked again. Yang Kai immediately explained how he and Shui Ling had found the void corridor and arrived here. "Water Spirit Temple, and this old master has heard of it. In the territory of the sea, it's a force that specializes in water attribute secret arts." Chu Lingxiao nodded slightly. "It's been hard for you to reach this point." "This is the path this disciple chose himself," Yang Kai replied seriously. "Do you have any plans for your future?" Chu Lingxiao asked kindly. "Not at the moment, but I want to find 2 people." "Who are you looking for?" "My 2 senior sisters, they are also here," Yang Kai said casually. Hearing this, Chu Lingxiao smiled and nodded. "What are their characteristics?" "I can ask the people in the sect to help you keep an eye out for them." Yang Kai was overjoyed and quickly described the characteristics of Su Yen and Xia Chang, adding, "Strictly speaking, they are a group of 4. They are a group of 4. Other than my 2 senior sisters, there is also a devil. It is the devil general's corporeal body that Patriarch sealed back then, but now, another devil spirit has entered it." "A demon lord?" "Ancestral founder can rest assured he shouldn't be part of the demon race, it's just that his secret art is evil. He has also helped me a lot and can be considered a friend of mine. He calls himself the Old Demon. I don't know his specific name. Old Demon? I haven't heard of him, but I trust your judgment. What about the other one? That old guy is called Meng Wuya. He's quite a mysterious person. Meng Wuya. Chu Lingzhao's expression changed. You mean Meng Wuya? Patriarch knows him? I do know a person called Meng Wuya, but I don't know if it's the same person. What does he look like? Yang Kai quickly described Meng Wuya's appearance, causing Chu Lingzhao's expression to become strange as he muttered, "It really is him? But isn't he already dead? That old fox is still here, and he even escaped to your world." Yang Kai was surprised. "Ancestor, you seem to be very familiar with Treasurer Meng?" "Not really. I've fought with him a few times, but there's no enmity between us. We've only exchanged a few moves. But this person? He's a very difficult character to deal with. 200 years ago, he was a very famous character, but after his battle with the demon commander, he disappeared without a trace. We all thought he had died." "He fought with Patriarch?" Yang Kai's eyes couldn't help widening. What level is he? Can he even fight with Patriarch? A Saint Realm Master. Chu Lingzhao glanced at Yang Kai strangely. What's wrong? Yang Kai's mouth twitched a few times before he replied, "A few years ago, he was only a peak immortal ascension boundary cultivator. Later, when I separated from him, he was around the second or third order transcendent realm, but he seems to have been sealed by some kind of seal." "Ha!" Chu Lingzhao laughed. "That old dog deserves it. He must have been struck by the demon commander's profound heavenly seal. That's a grand divine technique with 3 layers of seals, but from what you just said, he should have already unlocked the first layer. It's rare for him to be able to escape with his life from the demon commander. His luck is quite good." Yang Kai's eyes flashed brilliantly, his face filled with disbelief and shock. No wonder he had always felt Treasurer Meng was so mysterious. It turned out that he was actually a top Saint Realm Master. Unlocking the first layer of his seal had allowed him to restore his strength to the Transcendent Realm. If he could unseal the second layer, he might be able to restore his strength to the Saint Realm, and if he could unseal the third layer, he would definitely be able to return to his peak strength. "You've brought me some good news." Chu Lingzhao looked very happy, but it won't be easy to find him. When he fought with the demon commander also suffered a small loss. The demon race is a race that holds grudges, so before his strength is fully restored, this old dog should be hiding himself and won't expose himself in front of the world. After all, he is also a famous figure. Once the demon race receives news about him, I'm afraid he won't be able to escape. Yang Kai was stunned. "I'll try to help you pay attention to the movements of your 2 senior sisters. If there's any news, I'll let you know. You can be considered a disciple of my Soaring Heaven sect, so from now on, you can live here with peace of mind. There's no need to restrain yourself, just treat this place as your own home." Disciple understands. Yang Kai took a deep breath and nodded. After learning that the person in front of him was High Heaven Pavilion's ancestral founder, Yang Kai felt that he was no longer an outsider. Fortunately, Chu Lingzhao had sensed a trace of the devil sealing chain's aura and found him through it. Otherwise, Yang Kai would probably still be homeless and without a home. "Tsangyan," Chu Lingzhao called out. The Tsangyan who had been waiting outside the door immediately walked in. "Disciple is here. Arrange a place for your martial nephew." Disciple understands. "Right, ancestral founder, Disciple also has a request," Yang Kai suddenly said. "If you have anything to say, just say it. Because of some reasons, I need to improve my alchemy skills, so I want to ask the sect to provide me with some herbs. Let Tsangyan arrange it. This is also my Soaring Heaven sect's good fortune." Chu Lingzhao smiled and nodded. Yang Kai volunteering to help the sect perform alchemy was naturally something he hoped to see happen. After bidding farewell to Chu Lingzhao, Yang Kai and Tsangyan went outside. Tsangyan looked at Yang Kai strangely and asked, "Did you come from another world?" "No wonder I've never heard of you before. I've always wondered how such an outstanding young talent like you could be so unknown, but now I understand. Now that we're family, Martial Uncle will definitely take care of you in the future. If anyone dares to provoke you, Martial uncle will help you destroy their entire family. Xianxia grinned. Yang Kai's face went black. When he returned to the courtyard, Yang Kai was surprised to find that Fei Yu was lying lazily in the hallway with a flushed face, her exquisite and graceful curves causing one's imagination to run wild. Half of her breasts were exposed, and her cleavage was tantalizing. She was holding a wine jug in her hand and was currently drinking happily. Drinking again. Xianxia slowly shook his head and whispered to Yang Kai, "Your martial aunt doesn't look like a woman at all. She loves to drink and reeks of alcohol all year round. I don't think anyone will want her in this life." Before he finished speaking, the wine jug in Fei Yu's hand flew over. Xianxia caught it indifferently, sniffed it, and said discontentedly, "Isn't this thousand safflower wine?" "Humph." Fei Yu got up and glanced sideways at Xianxia. "You don't have a share of this thousand safflower wine, my yin-yang soul-beckoning lamp." "But you promised me before," Xianxia said discontentedly. "That thousand safflower wine, I've already transferred it to this little brother." "You transferred it to him?" Xianxia stared at Yang Kai in amazement for a moment before suddenly putting on a flattering smile and saying, "Martial nephew, you see. Martial uncle has been busy for 2 months because of you. Shouldn't you show some filial piety?" Yang Kai grinned meaningfully. "Good things are for me to keep for myself." Xianxia blinked, seemingly not having expected Yang Kai to directly refuse him. Fei Yu's brow furrowed slightly as she asked suspiciously, "How did he suddenly become martial nephew? Did this little brother join our Soaring Heaven sect?" "Strictly speaking, he is a disciple of my Soaring Heaven sect." "What happened?" Fei Yu was at a loss, her beautiful eyes staring at Yang Kai in surprise. Xianxia briefly explained the whole story, causing Fei Yu to suddenly feel a little happy. "So, I'm also this little brat's martial aunt?" Xianxia nodded. "Heh, I've gained a cheap martial nephew." Rimaru suddenly appeared from nowhere, his height no higher than Yang Kai's chest, his hands folded behind his back as he stared at Yang Kai, his eyes flashing brilliantly as he nodded lightly, "Not bad." "Greetings, martial uncles." Yang Kai cupped his fists and bowed. The three of them glanced at each other before bursting into laughter, Fei Yu even laughing so hard that she couldn't stand up straight. Rimaru suddenly said, I think we should hold a celebratory feast to celebrate martial nephew's return to the sect." "Good idea." Xianxia also nodded, "Let's do it on Serene Resplendent Peak." Fei Yu's expression suddenly changed, and she hurriedly tried to stop him. Xianxia had already used his movement technique to fly away, his voice echoing from afar, "I'm going to hunt some game and bring it back." Rimaru also disappeared in a flash. "I'm going to find Fei Jian, we can't leave him out of the good stuff." In the blink of an eye, only Fei Yu and Yang Kai were left. The beautiful woman clenched her teeth as she stared in the direction Xianxia and Rimaru disappeared, hatefully saying, "You bastards." After cursing, she smiled sweetly and shook her head, "A bunch of shameless bastards who only know how to scheme against my thousand safflower wine." She then glanced at Yang Kai. "Let's go. If we don't satisfy them this time, they'll definitely live on Serene Resplendent Peak." "What a headache." "I'm going too?" Yang Kai was stunned. "You're the target they set up, of course you have to go." Fei Yu nodded, and without any explanation, grabbed Yang Kai by the collar and flew towards a distant mountain peak. Just as they flew, they suddenly felt a strange weight. Her beautiful face couldn't help but change, and she quickly increased her strength. Fei Yu faintly glanced at Yang Kai, frowned, and said, "You're carrying the primeval shackles?" Yang Kai nodded. "Don't pour yuan qi into me, it's very difficult for me to fly like this." Fei Yu glared at him. She almost made a fool of herself just now. Yang Kai grinned and put away the yuan qi, and the two suddenly sped up a lot. Not long after, they descended on a beautiful mountain peak. Chapter 694. This mountain peak was extraordinarily beautiful, with a waterfall at its summit, like the Milky Way, surrounded by mist, giving off a clear and natural feeling. Fei Yu led Yang Kai through the sloping waterfall and landed in front of a cave halfway up the mountain. Yang Kai took a deep breath and relaxed his body and mind, But after probing the cave, he found that there was no one inside. This is Serene Resplendent Peak, where I live. Each of us 4 protectors has our own mountain peak. Their place is very lively, but I don't like the noise, so I live alone. Come with me. Saying so, she led Yang Kai into the cave. The interior of the cave was very spacious, dry, and clean. In the middle of the mountain, stone rooms had been cleverly carved out, and the stone walls were dotted with glowing stones. Here, there was not even the slightest smell. Instead, it was filled with a faint fragrance. Yang Kai was amazed. He had thought that a woman like Fei Yu, who was so fond of wine, would definitely not have the temperament of a woman, but he had never imagined that her residence would be so exquisite. Little martial nephew, why don't you live here with me from now on? Martial uncle is quite lonely by himself, Fei Yu suddenly said, not knowing whether she was joking or not. I live here. Before, I arranged for you to live in this mountain valley because I didn't know your origins, but since you are also a disciple of my Soaring Heaven sect, you have the right to choose a mountain peak to live in. Moreover, if you want to practice alchemy, you should need a quiet and comfortable environment, right? My place is quite good, that Xianxia people come and go every day, so I'm sure they will disturb you. The conditions here are really good, Yang Kai nodded in agreement. Think about it carefully, martial uncle is serious, Fei Yu smiled, her blushing face like a ripe fruit. Walking around the mountain, Fei Yu and Yang Kai soon arrived at an open space. Although Fei Yu said that the Xianxia bastards only cared about her 1,000 safflower wine, when she arrived, she still enthusiastically arranged the tables and chairs, took out a few jars of her own 1,000 safflower wine, and brought out her treasured spiritual fruits. Just as they settled down, they heard the sound of hurried footsteps nearby. Immediately, Xianxia, Rimaru, and another tall and thin man strode in. I seem to smell wine. Rimaru's thick eyebrows twitched as he sniffed the air exaggeratedly. On Xianxia's back was a monster beast that Yang Kai had never seen before, valiantly charging forward. After seeing the wine jar on the table, both of them revealed a knowing smile and licked their lips. Fei Yu is really a good girl. Fei Yu's expression became cold as she scolded them, 1 jar each, drink it all and scram. Rimaru nodded quickly, picking up one of the jars, unwilling to let it go. Yang Kai quietly observed the third person. This person should be the last of Soaring Heaven sect's 4 protectors. He was also a third-order transcendent, but Yang Kai keenly discovered that unlike Xianxia's oppressive aura, Fei Yu's gentle aura, and Rimaru's treacherous aura, this person's aura was particularly sharp. The other party also seemed to be looking at him, suddenly grinning. Is this the new little martial nephew? Seeing this grin, Yang Kai almost laughed out loud. Because this person actually had a mouth full of exaggerated buck teeth. Originally, he thought that Rimaru was wretched enough, but compared to this one, he felt like a little wizard meeting a great wizard. These 2 masters from Soaring Heaven sect were really quite unique. Yang Kai greets martial uncle. Yang Kai solemnly saluted. Fei Jian nodded lightly and suddenly assumed the posture of drawing an arrow. *1. The world seemed to tremble slightly as the surrounding world energy stagnated. Yang Kai instinctively narrowed his eyes. At this moment, he couldn't help feeling a sense of crisis, as if he was being stared at by a poisonous snake, unable to avoid it. Xianxia, Fei Yu, and Rimaru all remained silent, simply staring at Yang Kai with smiles. Fei Jian's index finger twirled and suddenly, with a whoosh, an invisible attack shot straight towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai's eyes bulged as a majestic yuan qi burst from his body and he fiercely punched forward. Kong. The energy around him became chaotic as his yuan qi fluctuated, but Yang Kai didn't move. The eyes of the 4 protectors lit up. Fei Jian grinned and said, not bad. Xianxia told me that your strength was much stronger than an average Immortal Ascension Boundary Master, but I didn't believe it, but now it seems that my Soaring Heaven sect has gained another pillar of support. Martial uncle uses arrows? Yang Kai's eyes flashed. Fei Jian nodded lightly, yes. Fei Yu leaned over and whispered in Yang Kai's ear, this guy is quite insidious, he never fights head-on, but when he hides in the dark, no one can avoid his arrows. If you want to learn how to play tricks on others, you should ask him for advice. Yang Kai nodded. He understood that Fei Jian's attack just now was just a test and didn't carry any hostility or malice, but even so, it was almost beyond the range of what Yang Kai could withstand. None of these four from Soaring Heaven sect could be underestimated. One's appearance stems from one's heart. Fei Yu suddenly smiled meaningfully. Hey, pay attention to your wording. Rimaru suddenly became unhappy. Alright, enough nonsense. I've been waiting for this 1,000 safflower wine for 50 years, let's drink. Songyan stepped forward, picked up a jug, opened the seal, and drank a mouthful, his complexion suddenly becoming rosy as he praised, "Good wine." Seeing him eat so heartily, Rimaru and Fei Jian couldn't hold back and quickly joined in. Yang Kai sat to the side and slowly ate a spirit fruit, watching everyone's forthright attitude. A warm feeling welled up in his heart. The relationship between these four martial uncles and martial sisters should be very good, and the occasional dispute between them was a catalyst for the improvement of their relationship. After 3 rounds of drinking, each of the 4 martial uncles showed their ugly side, none of them showing the proper attitude of a transcendent realm master. Fei Yu's skin glowed red as she drunkenly glanced over at Yang Kai, tossing him her wine jug and smiling charmingly, "Little martial nephew, you should also drink a mouthful." Yang Kai caught the jug, glanced over at her, and also took a big gulp. There wasn't a strong feeling of alcohol, but instead a soft and mellow taste. Kai Yang didn't even have time to praise it before a burning sensation spread from his lower abdomen, like a raging inferno burning within him. Kai Yang's complexion changed. He felt as if all his flesh and meridians were squirming, and an invisible force was rampaging through his body. In an instant, his body no longer listened to him, becoming extremely stiff as he fell backwards onto the ground. Fei Yu reacted quickly and snatched the wine jug from Yang Kai's hand. The 4 third-order Transcendent Realm Masters looked at each other for a moment before suddenly bursting into laughter. After laughing for a while, the 4 martial uncles began drinking again, none of them paying attention to Yang Kai. When Yang Kai woke up again, his surroundings were quiet. Song Yen and the others had already left, leaving behind only a mess. Fei Yu was lying on a nearby chair, her posture languid, one of her jade arms supporting her head as she stared drunkenly at Yang Kai. "Awake!" Fei Yu smiled. Yang Kai blushed and nodded slightly. He hadn't expected the so-called 1,000 safflower wine to be so powerful. It really didn't have much alcohol in it, but the energy it contained was enormous. "How do you feel?" "It seems to be quite good." Yang Kai examined himself slightly and found that the yuan qi was flowing through his body faster than before. His physique and meridians were undoubtedly stronger than before. "That's good. The 1,000 safflower wine I gave you can only drink 3 mouthfuls a month at most. Don't drink too much, it's not good for your body. I'm going to sleep for a while, you can help yourself." Fei Yu still smiled, pausing for a moment before continuing, "Right? Tell Song Yen and the others that you'll be living on Serene Resplendent Peak from now on. They'll deliver the herbs for you to use in alchemy." "Got it," Yang Kai nodded. The next moment, Fei Yu closed her beautiful eyes, breathing evenly through her delicate nose, as if she had been forcing herself to keep an eye on Yang Kai. After sitting cross-legged for a long time and absorbing all the remaining medicinal efficacies in his body, Yang Kai got up and began tidying up the mess on the ground. 2 hours later, Fei Yu gradually woke up, stretching and yawning in front of Yang Kai without a care for her image, exposing her exquisite curves. "Come with me, I'll find a suitable place for you to cultivate." Fei Yu beckoned and stepped inside. The deeper he went into the mountain, the richer the aura Yang Kai could feel. Not long after, a glittering stone room suddenly appeared in front of Yang Kai. The walls and floor of this stone room were completely paved with crystal stones. Inside these crystal stones, there were faint lines of spirit arrays. World energy continuously flowed into this stone room, giving Yang Kai a warm and comfortable feeling. It was as if he didn't need to do anything as the world energy continuously flowed into his body, enhancing his strength. This was simply a cultivation holy land. Yang Kai released his divine sense and found that this stone room was paved with more than one layer of crystal stones, at least a dozen or so, each one more than 12 meters thick. To spend so many crystal stones to create such a stone room, it could be said that the amount of money spent was not small. Staring blankly at the stone room in front of him, Yang Kai was inexplicably shocked. "Is this place okay?" Feiyu asked. "Is this where you usually cultivate?" Yang Kai noticed that somewhere in the stone room, there was an obvious mark left behind by someone who had been meditating here for many years. "If I were here, what would you do?" "I don't need it for the time being." Feiyu smiled when she heard this. "When I comprehend the mysteries of the Saint Realm, I'm afraid I'll need this place." Feiyu and the other three protectors had already reached the peak of the Third Order Transcendent Realm, but because they were unable to comprehend the mysteries of the Saint Realm, they were unable to break through the shackles of their state of mind, so they were unable to break through to the Saint Realm. If the four protectors could break through to the Saint Realm, Soaring Heaven Sect's strength would grow significantly. "You don't need to feel any psychological burden, this stone room is just sitting there," Feiyu said with a smile. Yang Kai nodded. "Then I won't be polite. Here, you don't need to worry about anything, just focus on cultivating. If you're bored, you can come out and find me. I'm usually on Serene Resplendent Peak. If you can't find me, you can find Xianxia and the others, they should have a lot to teach you," Feiyu said before quickly disappearing. Chapter 695. A day later, the Xianxia sect sent a large number of herbs and Yang Kai immediately immersed himself in his alchemy. When he was tired from performing alchemy, he would sit in meditation and rest for a while before resuming. Serene Resplendent Peak was indeed very quiet, with only Yang Kai on this mountain peak. When Yang Kai was performing alchemy or cultivating, Feiyu would never disturb him. Every time she entered or exited, she would hold her breath and keep her hands and feet light. Every day, Yang Kai would have 3 meals of rare monster beast meat, bone soup, and other nutritious delicacies. Although with Yang Kai's current cultivation he could go months or even a year without eating, Feiyu still insisted on sending him these things every day. When Yang Kai needed them, he would take them and consume the demon god revelation from the game. Occasionally, when he left the stone room, the four protectors would gather together and explain to Yang Kai their experiences in cultivation and their insights into the heavenly way and martial Tao. Here, Yang Kai felt a sense of meticulous care and concern. Soaring Heaven sect had provided him with the best cultivation and alchemy environment. Yang Kai felt grateful. Although he knew that this may have had a lot to do with his aptitude and identity as an alchemist, these 4 martial uncles were really good to him. After a few months, Yang Kai's alchemy level improved again, successfully refining a saint-grade low-rank pill without the help of a spirit array. This brought him much closer to his goal. Over the past few months, Yang Kai spared no effort to refine a large number of pills for Soaring Heaven sect. The sheer number and quality of the pills he refined left the 4 martial uncles speechless. They only knew that Yang Kai was certified as a spirit-grade low-rank alchemist by the Alchemist Guild, but they never thought that he could produce a steady stream of spirit-grade mid-rank and spirit-grade high-rank pills. Many of these pills even formed pill veins. The 4 martial uncles also realized the seriousness of the problem. After a brief discussion, Yang Kai's existence and abilities were quickly listed as Soaring Heaven sect's biggest secret. Feiyu also became Yang Kai's bodyguard, never leaving Serene Resplendent Peak. Over the past few days, Yang Kai had only seen Feiyu a few times, but every time he saw her, this beautiful woman would appear drunk. It seemed that she really liked to drink, and whenever she got drunk, she would immediately become intoxicated. When she became drunk, she didn't have the demeanor of a martial ant, often entangling Yang Kai. Yang Kai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, every time she sobered up, she would not remember anything, making Yang Kai extremely helpless. Occasionally, he had some free time. Yang Kai, and listened, of course. Ever since he started cultivating, it could be said that Kai Yang had been fumbling around on his own. No one had ever given him any pointers. On the path of the martial Tao, it was better to have someone to guide you than not. The difference was very big. Fortunately, Yang Kai now had the demon eye of annihilation, so by killing some masters, he could forcibly absorb their insights into the martial Tao and heavenly way, benefiting from this. But what made Yang Kai feel a little regretful was that although Chu Lingxiao had also asked people to inquire about Su Yan and Xianing Chang, there had been no progress. Tongxian realm was vast. Trying to find two people in this vast sea of people was undoubtedly like looking for a needle in a haystack. One day, a few months later, Yang Kai was in the middle of performing alchemy when he suddenly heard light footsteps outside the door. It was Fei Yu's footsteps. She had never disturbed him while he was performing alchemy, but now she had deliberately made some noise. Obviously, she had some business with him. Yang Kai stepped up his movements, and after a stick of incense, a spirit-grade top-rank pill came out of the furnace. Putting away the pill, Yang Kai stood up and opened the door to the stone room, looking at Fei Yu, who was waiting outside, and asking, "Martial uncle, is there something you need? Did I disturb you?" Yang Kai shook his head. "That's good," Fei Yu sighed softly. "Xianxia is looking for you. He's right outside." "I'll go take a look," Yang Kai said and quickly walked out. Not long after, Yang Kai saw Xianxia. This time, not only did he come, but Rimaru and Fei Jian were also present. The three of them seemed to have a dignified expression. Yang Kai's expression turned cold, not knowing what had happened that made them treat a loose immortal so seriously. "Martial nephew," seeing Yang Kai appear, Xianxia quickly greeted him. "I heard that several martial uncles are looking for me?" "Take a seat first," Xianxia waved his hand. Several people sat down in order, and Yang Kai waited quietly. After a while, Xianxia said in a deep voice, "Martial nephew, it's not that these martial uncles are suspicious of you, but tell me honestly, what level of alchemist are you now?" From old Du, Xianxia knew that Yang Kai was a spiritual level low-grade alchemist. But during this time, his performance was not something a spiritual level low-grade alchemist could do at all. Spiritual level mid-grade and high-grade pills were constantly coming out of the furnace. Yang Kai was obviously not just a spiritual level low-grade alchemist. Old Du would not lie to Xianxia, so the only possibility was that Yang Kai had hidden his true ability in the Alchemist Guild. Fei Yu's beautiful eyes also lit up as she stared at Yang Kai and said, "A few days ago, I remember that you refined a saint-grade pill." Hearing this, Xianxia's expression changed. "Really?" Yang Kai nodded, took out the saint-grade pill, and said, "I was lucky enough to refine a pill." Xianxia quickly took it and carefully examined it, his expression becoming a little excited. "Then can you refine a saint-grade pill?" "I should be able to." Yang Kai nodded. He had never used a spirit array or even the myriad drug milk to refine alchemy pills. Spirit arrays could increase the success rate of alchemy, and the myriad drug milk could improve the quality of pills. If these two factors were considered, Yang Kai could now easily refine a saint-grade low-rank pill. "Doesn't that mean you're a saint-grade alchemist?" Rimaru exclaimed. Everyone else also wore an incredulous expression. "Almost," Yang Kai said modestly. All of them took a deep breath at the same time and glanced at each other, Fei Jian baring his teeth and saying, "Then it's done." "Indeed." Xianxia also nodded firmly. "Martial uncles and sisters, do you want me to help you refine pills?" Yang Kai asked curiously. "Barely," Xianxia nodded, "but not entirely, martial nephew. Have you ever heard of the 1,000-year demon flower?" Yang Kai shook his head. Xianxia smiled bitterly. "Right, I forgot you came from another world. You probably haven't heard of it, but in Tongxian realm, the three great clans of the human, demon, and monster race, you should know, right?" "I know that," Yang Kai nodded lightly. "The human territory, demon land, and monster race territory are the general names of the three great clans' areas of activity. Among them, the human territory covers the largest area, followed by the demon land and monster race territory. There is also a neutral zone in between." Yang Kai also knew this because Xue Ling had explained it to him when he first arrived in Tongxian realm. In this neutral zone, there is a place called Ascending Heaven Cliff. It's on a mountain peak that's as high as 10,000 feet. On the Ascending Sky Cliff, there's a single 1,000-year demon flower. It blooms once every 1,000 years, and every time it blooms, it withers in less than 2 hours. What use does this 1,000-year demon flower have? Yang Kai keenly grasped the crux of the problem and asked in a deep voice. It has no use for you and most people in this world, but for the 4 of us, it is very useful. It can help us comprehend the mysteries of the Saint Realm. With the help of the 1,000-year demon flower's energy, we may be able to break through our current bottlenecks in one fell swoop. Fei Yu also said with some excitement. Yang Kai's expression shook. But because of the special nature of the 1,000-year demon flower, it requires a highly skilled alchemist to condense the medicinal liquid when the flower blooms. And this alchemist has to be at least a high-rank spirit-grade alchemist in order to accomplish this. So you need me to do it? There should be alchemists in the sect who are more skilled than me, right? Yang Kai was stunned. Soaring Heaven sect was such a big sect, so it was likely that there were saint-grade alchemists. Even if there weren't any saint-grade alchemists, there would still be several spirit-grade top-rank alchemists. These alchemists were all far more experienced than Yang Kai. Those people are the sect's honored guests, so this trip is very dangerous. They may not be willing to go. Moreover, even if their alchemy skills are better than yours, their combat strength is not as good as yours. I understand, Yang Kai nodded heavily. In other words, there are many people staring at the 1,000-year demon flower, right? You can't even imagine. Songyen's expression became solemn as he gave a slight sigh. It blooms once every 1,000 years, so naturally people will pay attention to the movements of the 1,000-year demon flower. If we can obtain news that it is about to bloom, others will naturally be able to as well. As long as there is a master who wants to break through to the Saint Realm, they will definitely try to obtain it. Martial nephew, this trip is really dangerous. If you don't want to go, we won't force you. Fei Yu looked at Yang Kai and said softly. I'll go. Yang Kai smiled lightly. If I can help my 4 martial uncles break through to the Saint Realm, even if it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I'll try my best. Fei Yu's beautiful eyes flashed as a look of gratitude appeared on her face. Songyen and the others were also moved. Good boy, martial uncle didn't dote on you in vain, Rimaru laughed. Then prepare yourself, we'll set off in 5 days, there's still time, Songyen said. Yang Kai nodded. The 3 men quickly left. In order to cope with the upcoming trip, they had to make some preparations as well. Whether or not we succeed this time, I must thank you, Fei Yu said softly. My martial uncles have taken good care of me, this is what I should do. Yang Kai shook his head. Fei Yu looked at him quietly, as if she wanted to see through his heart. After a while, she suddenly laughed. I'm going to take a bath. Do you want to join me? Yang Kai's face darkened. Did you drink again? Boring. Fei Yu spat disdainfully before her tender body flickered and disappeared. Yang Kai shook his head. This open and forthright martial uncle master was really difficult to deal with. She would often say some shocking things that people couldn't respond to. During the 5 days, Yang Kai didn't make any special preparations and just refined pills as usual. 5 days later, everything was ready. Yang Kai walked out of the stone room. Fei Yu was already waiting outside. Seeing him appear, she smiled and gently waved her hand. Where are the Tsungyan martial uncles and the others? Yang Kai asked. They're waiting outside. Flying out of the cave, Songyen and the others were indeed standing below the waterfall, looking up and waiting. Chapter 696. Seeing Yang Kai appear, Songyen and the others didn't speak any nonsense, nodding slightly to him before immediately setting off. The 4 protectors used their own methods to fly forward with Yang Kai following behind them at a leisurely pace. Sensing the current condition of his body, Soaring Heaven sect's 4 protectors couldn't help frowning slightly. Because they discovered that since Fei Yu gave the primordial shackles to Yang Kai a few months ago, he had never taken them off, and even now, he was still bearing a burden of several thousand kilograms. Yang Kai himself seemed to have become accustomed to such a burden, so there wasn't the slightest unnatural expression on his face, remaining as calm as ever. This little brat's physique is a bit too abnormal. It's not even inferior to the demon races. Such a thought involuntarily emerged in the minds of the four protectors. Not long after they set off, Xianxia suddenly let out a light sigh and looked down. At the same time, Yang Kai also heard a voice calling out to him from below. The source of this voice was a white-haired old man who was stroking his beard and looking towards them. Beside the old man, a young woman was jumping up and down, constantly gesturing towards him. "It's old man Du." Xianxia looked surprised and waved his hand. "Let's go down and have a look." As he landed on the ground, Yang Kai really saw old man Du and Mi Na from the Alchemist Guild. After seeing Yang Kai, Mi Na immediately rushed up and angrily shouted, "You bastard! Didn't you say you would come to Grand Boulder City to see me when you had time? Why haven't I seen you come over these past few months?" "But I was a bit busy, so I forgot," Yang Kai said awkwardly. "Do you think my alchemy skills are inferior to yours, so you look down on me?" Mina put her hands on her hips and asked. No, Yang Kai quickly waved his hand. "I was really a bit busy. You better tell me the truth, otherwise I'll bite you to death." Mina's anger was greatly relieved. "I'm also a spirit-grade low-rank alchemist now, just like you, so don't be so complacent. Maybe I'll surpass you soon." Old man Du observed the situation with a smile, his eyes flashing as he said, "Mina, little friend Yang seems to be different from you." "What? How is it different?" Mina was puzzled. "Little friend Yang should be at least a spirit-grade top-rank alchemist now, right?" Old man Du stared at Yang Kai with a burning gaze. Yang Kai scratched his head awkwardly, his expression suddenly becoming serious as he cupped his fists. "Sorry, old man Du, I didn't tell you the truth back at the Alchemist Guild. In fact, I have been a spirit-grade top-rank alchemist since a few months ago." Old man Du's expression changed slightly as he stared at Yang Kai in shock and astonishment. Mina couldn't help covering her mouth as a look of shock appeared on her face. "I see." Old man Du suddenly laughed again. "It seems that this old master has underestimated you. Little friend Yang doesn't need to worry about it. For you to be honest with this old master now, this old master is very pleased." "How does old man Du know that I am now a spirit-grade top-rank alchemist?" Yang Kai asked curiously. "Didn't Xianxia want to take you to Floating Cloud City? Alchemists who can go there are at least spirit-grade top-rank alchemists." Old man Du smiled lightly. Xianxia's expression changed. "Old man Du is also going there? And this old master has been waiting for you here. The journey is long, so this old master wanted to find a few bodyguards to accompany him." Old man Du said half-jokingly, "But you can rest assured, this old master isn't going there for the 1,000-year demon flower. I just want to take Mina out to gain experience and broaden her horizons. This little girl doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, thinking that she is the only alchemist with outstanding aptitude in this world. I believe this trip will allow her to gain a lot." "Old man Du, I don't think so anymore." Mina felt extremely wronged. Before meeting Yang Kai, Mina's eyes were really high. She was still young, but a few months ago she had already obtained the qualifications to become a mysterious grade top-rank alchemist. Old man Du and her master Yi Xiong also had great expectations for her and were training her as the successor of Grand Boulder City's Alchemist Guild. But since meeting Yang Kai, Mina had suffered a series of blows, and this time it was even more serious. Yang Kai had already become a spirit-grade top-rank alchemist, yet she was still proud of her small breakthrough. Thinking so, Mina's pretty face flushed red and she couldn't wait to find a hole to crawl into and never come out again. Old man Du chuckled. "The 1,000-year demon flower is about to bloom, so I believe there will be many powerful alchemists heading to Floating Cloud City. This is a once-in-a-1,000-year event. This old master doesn't want to miss it. If you don't mind, why don't you take us along?" Old man Du is too polite. Xianxia shook his head. "Since you are also going to Floating Cloud City, we can go together and take care of each other." Old man Du smiled and nodded. After reaching an agreement, the 4 Soaring Heaven sect disciples began circulating their yuan qi, wrapping Old man Du and Mina in it before flying off together. Seeing Mina's sullen look, Yang Kai couldn't help feeling a little apologetic, so he leaned over and asked, "What's wrong? You're going too far." Mina pouted and glared at him. I'm going too far? Yang Kai was stunned. Mi Na nodded repeatedly before suddenly saying in a serious tone, "But don't be so complacent. Old Man Du said that as long as I continue to work hard, one day I will be able to catch up to you." "I'm not complacent, am I?" Yang Kai said helplessly. "Although you don't show it on your face, in fact, you're feeling proud in your heart." Yang Kai shook his head and sighed. "Your world is really dark." Seeing these two juniors quarreling, the group of several people couldn't help smiling, seemingly feeling that this trip was no longer so boring. Soaring Heaven sect was very far from their destination, Floating Cloud City. Even with the strength of Xianxian's group, it would still take them at least a month to reach their destination. And this was even if they were flying at full speed. Fortunately, there was still a lot of time before the 1,000-year demon flower bloomed, so Xianxian and the others were relatively calm. Flying and stopping at intervals, Yang Kai also witnessed the vast riches of Tong Xian realm. On this continent, there were countless large and small forces. Every day, many of these forces were destroyed, but these large and small forces were like bamboo shoots after the rain. After one was cut down, another would emerge. Moreover, along the way, they encountered several groups of transcendent realm masters rushing towards Floating Cloud City. These transcendent realm masters, without exception, were all accompanied by an alchemist. When they encountered one another, all of them were quite vigilant. But as time passed, the closer they got to Floating Cloud City, the stronger the smell of gunpowder in the air became. Xianxian and the others were constantly vigilant, paying attention to the safety of Yang Kai, Old Man Du, and the others. 20 days later, Yang Kai and the others witnessed a great battle between two transcendent realm masters. The number of people on both sides was about the same, and the strength of each side was about the same. Both sides used their respective martial skills and artifacts, creating an astonishing atmosphere. No one saw the result of the battle, but Xianxian and the others did not casually intervene in other people's disputes, so they simply led Yang Kai and the others through the battlefield. After witnessing the first battle, the great battles between transcendent realm masters seemed to have become more frequent. Almost every day, they would see traces of ongoing battles or those that had already ended. According to Xianxian, these were all masters who were rushing to Floating Cloud City and had begun competing with each other midway to eliminate potential rivals. Yang Kai's heart clenched as he became more and more aware of the allure of the 1,000-year demon flower to these second or third order transcendent masters. However, what puzzled Yang Kai was that in this grand event that involved all three clans, the human, monster, and demon clans, there were no Saint Realm masters. After asking this question, Xianxian smiled and said, "Saints don't intervene, this is an unwritten rule. The 1,000-year demon flower is only needed when a transcendent breaks through to the Saint Realm. Whether it is a human, monster, or demon clan, if they want the 1,000-year demon flower, they can only fight for it with their own strength. That's one of the reasons Old Man Du took over. There's another reason. I'd like to hear the details." Xianxian seemed a little surprised, obviously not knowing the deeper reason. Yang Kai and Mi Na were also eagerly waiting and listening attentively. This kind of secret was very attractive to young people like them. "The 1,000-year demon flower doesn't seem to be a product of Tong Xian realm," Old Man Du quickly said. Fei Yu's pretty face changed as she asked in amazement, "Could it be from Star Field?" It is said to be so." Du Wan nodded slightly. Du Wan nodded lightly. "I don't know how many years ago, but a seed fell from the starry sky to ascending heaven cliff. Then, a plant that no one had ever seen before grew there. 1,000 years later, it bloomed and was accidentally obtained by someone. Only then did the world learn of its magical effects. When this news spread, the human, monster, and demon clans boiled with excitement. Saint Realm masters were rare, and the 1,000-year demon flower could help a third-order transcendent break through to the Saint Realm. In the second millennium, a Saint Realm master intervened and a great battle ensued. In the end, a master from the human race ascending heaven cliff, but what was surprising was that the 1,000-year demon flower that should have bloomed withered in an instant. Why is that? Everyone couldn't help showing strange looks. No one knows why, but from then on, no Saint Realm Master intervened in the dispute over the 1,000-year demon flower. Once the aura of a Saint Realm Master leaked out, the 1,000-year demon flower would no longer bloom, so those who go to Ascending Heaven Cliff now are basically all transcendents. So strange, Rimaru exclaimed. A product of the star field cannot be explained with common sense. Old Man Du slowly shook his head. Old Man Du, is there really someone who has entered the star field? Sangyen frowned and asked, although I have heard a lot about the star field, it seems that no one has been able to confirm what kind of world the star field is. This old master doesn't know, Old Man Du smiled faintly. According to the demon race, the great demon god, who once reigned supreme, successfully escaped into the star field. The human race and monster race also have such rumors, but no one knows what the truth is. Yang Kai's eyes flashed, but he didn't interrupt. Although he knew that the great demon god had not escaped into the star field and had instead died, it was better not to speak of such matters. There seemed to be an irreconcilable hatred between the human, monster, and demon clans. No one wanted to involve the other two races and would rather destroy them. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, martial world, and tales of demons and gods.